Less than 2 weeks ago now, the town of Moore, Oklahoma was ripped apart by one of the strongest, largest tornadoes on record. Home after home, building after building, school after school was leveled as people desperately sought to find cover. 24 people, including 10 children, lost their lives. It was horrible. And in many ways, it seems to just be the latest in a string of such tragedies this spring. The bombings in Boston, the explosion in West Texas, the building collapse in Bangladesh, more deadly tornadoes just this weekend, and the list goes on. In the wake of such tragedies, we often ask why. We often ask, who's responsible? Perhaps you remember Pat Robertson implying that 9/11 was caused by abortionists, feminists, and the ACLU. Even in the case of natural disaster, folks often look for a scapegoat. A friend of mine posted a cartoon on Facebook 2 days after the tornado hit Moore. It showed a man kneeling in prayer. "Lord," he pleads, "I know this is an impossible request, but please let this tragedy pass without some religious fanatic blaming it on someone." Several comments later on that same post, someone wrote, "Too late. The Westboro crowd is already blaming the tornado on the national support of a gay athlete." The Westboro crowd, if that doesn't mean anything to you, is a reference to the tiny little Westboro Baptist Church in Topeka, Kansas. The tornado, one of its members said, was brought down on Oklahoma as punishment because of the way basketball player Jason Collins was supported when he recently came out of the closet as the first male major league athlete to do so. The Westboro congregation, very tiny, about 40, has made it their mission to denounce homosexuality in a variety of ways, most notably in a way that you have probably heard of, by holding protest rallies at funeral services held for members of the military killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. Soldiers' deaths, members of that church claim, are also divine punishment for America's growing acceptance of gay and lesbian persons. The signs they carry at those funeral protests proclaim things like, "God hates fags," and "Thank God for dead soldiers," and many other similarly hateful messages. Whoever made up the saying "sticks and stones" never met the Westboro Baptist Church. Words can hurt. Their words of hate not only defame gay men and lesbian women, they also bring enormous distress and pain into the lives of the families of those who've given up life itself in service to their country. While the Supreme Court upheld their right to use such language, the court also acknowledged such speech can be enormously hurtful. As Chief Justice John Roberts wrote in his opinion, "Speech is powerful. It can stir people to action, move them to tears of both joy and sorrow, and, as it did here, it can inflict great pain. But even as words can bring about great harm, great pain, so too words can bring about healing. The right word, spoken by the right person at the right time, can mend a shattered heart, can restore a fractured relationship, can make whole that which has been broken. Our lesson today is all about the power of words, especially the healing power of words. Jesus is in Capernaum. It is a small market town at the crossroads in Galilee. Tolls were collected there. The Roman government was represented by a centurion, an officer in charge of 100 men. He is a man well-versed in the nature of authority, a man familiar with chains of command. Even then, there is more to be learned. We know nothing of him outside of this story, not even his name, but scholars speculate he may have been a God-fearer. These were, as one commentator writes, these were non-Jews who were attracted to Judaism because of its monotheism and its ethical teachings. God-fearers often attended Jewish prayer services and kept the various laws and commandments of the Torah as best they could. But for a number of reasons, they were unable or unwilling to take the final steps involved in full conversion, steps like circumcision, for instance. Even if the centurion was not a practitioner of Judaism, he apparently had a real respect for it. In the text, we're told that he even went so far as to build a synagogue for the people of Capernaum. Edwin Markart writes, "What kind of person is this who is not only unprejudiced towards someone else, but also is willing to build a temple for their religion? Imagine a Jew in Israel building an Arab mosque, or a Palestinian building a Jewish synagogue. What kind of person is this centurion?" One could cynically write this off as a political move designed to gain the favor and the trust of the people he is charged with keeping in line. Yet the rest of the story would point to quite another direction. The rest of the story suggests that he's truly a man of compassion, a man of piety and faith. His servant, his slave, is sick, on the verge of death. And the centurion hears that Jesus is in town. Somehow, some way, he has heard of this rabbi of Nazareth with the strength and power to heal. Stories of his healing powers have somehow come to his ears. So he asks some of the village elders to carry a message to Jesus for him. "Ask him to come," he says, "and heal my servant." They go and meet up with Jesus and plead the centurion's case. Jesus, he's not like the other Romans. He's a good man. He even built a synagogue for us. Jesus consents. He'll go to the centurion's house. But on the way there, the centurion sends a second group to speak to Jesus. Some of his friends, we are told. Were they Jews? We don't know. But he gives them a message. He is apparently sensitive to the fact that the Jewish law prohibited Jews from entering non-Jews, Gentiles, homes. He doesn't want Jesus to have to risk breaking the code that Jesus lives by. Lord, he says, using a word which demonstrates his respect for Jesus, Lord, don't bother coming all the way. I'm not worthy to have you as a house guest. I've not done anything that merits your favor. But I trust you can do this healing. I know there is power in your very words. I know if you speak it, my servant will be healed. And then, drawing on his military background, he speaks of authority. Listen, Jesus, if I give a command to a soldier, he jumps first and then asks how high. And if my commander asks me to jump, well, you know how it is, Jesus. You know how it works, and so do I. So, Jesus, just say the word. I know my servant will be made well. Just say the word, and I know my servant will be made well. And Jesus, we are told, is amazed. He is surprised that this Gentile, this non-Jew, this Roman official has so much faith, so much trust. As Michael Card writes, he asks for what he doesn't deserve and faithfully expects to get it. He asks for hesed, mercy. He asks for mercy and he gets it. His servant is healed. All because the right word was said by the right person at the right time. All because of a healing word from Jesus. So here's the question, brothers and sisters. Do you want to move through life like the members of the Westboro Baptist Church, using words that hurt? Or do you want to be like Jesus and use words that heal? I know both examples, in a way, are extreme. I don't imagine anyone here is protesting at military funerals, hurling hateful words at the mourners. And I suspect none of us here can bring about physical healing with a few well-chosen words. But we all use words every single day. Most of us, lots of them. We all speak to family and friends and strangers, and we speak to them in ways that can heal or ways that can harm. And we speak about other people in similar ways as well, in ways that can hurt or ways that can heal. Jesus was surprised by the faith of the centurion. He was surprised by the goodness that lay beneath his Roman armor. The implication is clear. Jesus had bought into the stereotype of his people and his time. He had prejudged the centurion. It was just one of the many ways Jesus is so like you and me. But instead of using hurtful words to talk about the centurion, Jesus took time to listen and learn about the centurion. and as a result, discovered new truths that led to healing words. So what about you? Don't let this just be a story about Jesus and a centurion. Don't just let this be a story about Westboro Baptist Church. What about you? What kind of language do you use? What kind of words do you speak? Are you quick to judge? Are you quick to use words that break down, words that cause pain, words that dismiss others as useless or worse? Or are you willing to listen to people? Are you willing to learn from them and about them? Do you use words that build others up? Words that heal the divides and mend the broken places? Or do you use words that bring further harm? Think of a time someone has said to you, "I'm sorry," and how that has changed your life. Think of a time when you were praised by a boss or a parent and how that gave you new strength and hope and the courage to go on. Well-chosen words spoken by the right person at the right time, in the right way. Words can hurt, but words can also heal. Justice Roberts is right. Never forget, words are powerful. The question is, how will you speak? What words will you use?